Year 5, your fluency for today is over on Purple Mash. As usual, feel free to go and do that now, or you can do it at the end when you've finished. Today we are moving on to look at area. So the first thing I want you to do is to pause the video and write out a definition of what you think area is, and maybe even draw a diagram to help you. Hopefully you've remembered that area is slightly different to perimeter because the area of a shape is the inside, so the space that's taken up on the inside of a 2D shape. And I've shown that by this diagram here. So it's the inside, whereas the perimeter is the outside of a 2D shape. Now I want you to pause the video and think about, what do we measure area in? So what's our unit of measure that we're going to be working with? Even though area and perimeter are slightly different, we still use the same units of measure. So we're still thinking about millimetres, centimetres, metres and kilometres that we looked at last week. However, because we're looking at the inside of a shape and how much space it takes up, we actually call something, so each of these we say it is squared. So for example, if this square was 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre, we would say it was 1 centimetres squared. Now obviously this isn't accurate because it's on my board. You can have a go at drawing centimetre square. Obviously if it was much bigger, if it was a square that was 1 metre by 1 metre, we'd call it a metre squared. And that's how we go about calculating area. If we have this shape here, so a rectangle, I have drawn on a 1 centimetre square. So we would think about, well, how many of those centimetre squares, how many of those squares could I fit inside of this rectangle? And that would tell me its area. Okay, so always remember, any of these units of measure, if you're measuring area, then your answer needs to be in something squared. Okay, and when we say that, it's just imagining how many of these square blocks or metre blocks that we could fit into that space. Let's use that understanding to help us calculate the area of this rectangle. Now, as I mentioned before, this isn't accurate, but I want you to imagine that each of these squares that I have drawn on is 1 centimetre squared. Okay, so it's 1 centimetre each side. So pause the video and figure out what is the area of this rectangle using that information. So to do this, we can do it of a number of different ways. We can think about, how many rows do I have? So down here there are 4 rows. And across the top we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can either think of 4 lots of 6 or 6 lots of 4. And if I was to write that down as a number sentence, it would be 4 times by 6 or 6 times by 4. And that gives me the area. So the area of this rectangle is 24, and remember, it's centimetres squared. Because if I was to draw all of these out, it won't be very accurate, but in total, I would have 24 of these boxes, which are each 1 centimetre squared. What we've actually done, which is the abstract way of thinking about area, to find it out, is we've done the length times by the width of the shape, which gives us area. So we've done 4 times 6 or 6 times by 4, and it's given us 24. I'm now going to put 2 different shapes up on the video for you to pause and figure out the area. Okay, let's go through them. So for the first shape, you could have either counted the boxes in 2s or 5s, but you should have found that there was 10 boxes, so that means that the area of that shape is 10 centimetres squared. The second one, there are 3 rows of 8 or 8 rows of 3, and so we times those together, and the area of that rectangle is 24 centimetres squared. Now in some cases it might not always be a regular shape that we're going to come across. What I want you to understand today is the idea of area, so it's just the amount of space that a 2D shape takes up. So I'm going to put another shape on the board next, but it's an irregular shape. But I want you to do the same thing and imagine each square is 1 centimetre squared, find the area of the shape. I've tried to replicate these shapes, not very successfully, but just to give you the idea. It's just a case of if each of these squares, remember, was 1 centimetres squared, so that means it was 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre, then what's the area of each of these shapes? So this one, we just had to count them, 2, 3, 4. Remember, we couldn't do 4 times by 4 because there isn't one because of these corner ones here. So the area of this first shape should be 12 centimetres squared. Don't forget that's squared. The next one, I counted in 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and then add the 1 is 9. So the area is 9 centimetres squared. And then the last one is quite irregular, so we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 2 at the bottom. So the area is 11 centimetres squared. That's it for today, hopefully nice and easy, and your task is as well. It's over on Purple Mash. I'm expecting you to fly through it. It's just about getting that understanding of area today. So as a bit of a challenge, I'd quite like as many of you as possible to have a go at this because the task is nice and easy. So I want you to draw as many rectangles as you can that have an area of 24 centimetres squared. So see how many possibilities you can come up with. Once you've done that, please post a picture on the class blog, let us know it's there, or send it to us via the email address. I can't wait to see them.